Jeff Carpenter is a district attorney in Herkimer County. He's running for re-election, being challenged by Mike Daley. A bit of a heated race going on down there. And on the line right now is Jeff Carpenter. Jeff, good morning. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, good morning, Bill. It's nice to be back with the rest of my softball team here.
Oh, what does that mean?
You tell me. You're the one that got accused of throwing softballs.
You're right.
The other day.
That's I see where you're going with that. Yeah. That's very funny. That is awesome.
Oh, I did forget that.
That's right. So I'll lob a few at you. I'll lob a few at you this morning. I assume you have the list of questions that Mr. Daley threw out on the air the other day. And what are your thoughts? Do you want to respond to the questions that he put out there?
No, actually, it's ridiculous. I mean, he came out and started with your show about the back and forth and how tired he is of this. Well, he's the one that initiates it. I think you can acknowledge, Bill, I've never called your show and initiated one of these appearances. He continuously comes on your show and says something and then says that I have a week to prepare my answer. Listen, I don't control your schedule. You know that. I come on when I'm invited to come on. And I don't have to prepare to tell the truth. I can come on your show on a day's notice, on an hour's notice, or on 3 days, whatever your schedule provides.
Got it.
And,
Jeff.
I do agree with that, and I think we said when he was on the air that was kind of a jab here and that it was based on your availability and our openings on the schedule. So I'll move on from that to ask you, I do think the reason he lobs the questions or comes on and makes accusations, and there is a back and forth, is there is no debate. Is that still the case, that you are not willing to go into a debate on this race?
Yeah, he's really coming unglued on this issue here, clearly. Listen, I was on your show and very publicly said that if he would start talking about the facts of the case and telling the truth, that I would consider a debate. And then he goes back on your show and misleads the voters even more. So. And then the other day he tried to equate a debate to a trial. And if he's involved, that couldn't be further from the truth. A trial is a search for the truth. And that's all it is. And he said he wants to come on and debate me because he has a version of facts and I have a version of facts. There are no versions of facts. Facts are the facts. And I come on and I stick to the facts. So the fact that he even acknowledges that he has a different version of what's actually accurate, that tells a lot about his credibility.
Wouldn't it be beneficial, though, for the voters to be able to have the two of you in one room answering the questions as opposed to this back and forth that ends up showing up on a radio show? Wouldn't it be beneficial for the voter?
Well, Bill, don't you find it odd that not a single voter's asked for a debate? The only person who's asking for a debate is Mike Daley?
Well, I think that, but if you were to poll, honestly, if you were to poll people on whether or not they would like to see a debate, especially, as a matter of fact, I've heard from people that have said, I would love to see this debate.
This race, yeah.
So I don't think that road is a road to go down, because I think the average public, the average voter would be like, absolutely, we'd like to see a debate.
As long as it's not a farce. I mean, and that's what it would turn into. It would turn into a circus with this guy.
Well, we really could. I got to tell you, we're doing a congressional debate tomorrow in studio, and one of the key, and you know how this works. There's rules that have to be followed, and everybody agrees to it. I mean, if we could put something like that together where it doesn't turn into a farce, and it should not be well, we've been watching presidential debates that have turned into a farce. It shouldn't be that way.
That's exactly right, and it will be if he's involved. I want to go back to this, Jeff asked him on the show. Not a single civic organization has asked for a debate. In fact, he's gone around looking for organizations to provide one, and they won't even provide one. They're not interested in it because I think they know his credibility is just not worth their time.
All right.
So can we get to he came in and said, will you ask Jeff Carpenter these questions? Will you respond to the questions that he provided? He claims there are illegal plea bargaining of certain cases going on. I know there's a list. I don't have it in front of me. Will you address some of these questions? Thank you.
Stephanie.
Well, again, it goes right to his credibility. The very first question talks about my plea bargain with a child molester that's going to let him out in less than 7 years. That guy got a 9-year sentence. So he's not going to be out in less than 7 years. So he starts right off with his first question is absolutely just misleading. He talks about drug cases where I allowed 2 people facing life sentences to drug dealers to plead to misdemeanors. That's absolutely false. First of all, he's been out of the game so long, they've revamped the drug laws in New York State. Very few people could even qualify to get a life sentence as a drug dealer in New York State anymore, but he hasn't stayed up with the current trends in that law. But 2 A1 felony drug cases were not reduced to misdemeanors. It's absolutely false. So that's just 2 of his 7 or 8 questions here. If he can't even ask a question with credibility, I'm not going to answer him.
So let me, and I don't want to speak for him. I'm assuming when he says about the child molester case, facing 100 years of prison and allowed back into the community in less than 7 years, you say the sentence was 9. Is it possible he's saying with what is it, like good behavior, you get out like in less time than your sentence? Is that where he's maybe going with that?
Well, you do get time off. There's no question about that, but it doesn't amount to less than 7 years. It's about 6/7 or 87%. So you can do the math there. But this person's not going to get out in less than 7 years as he misleads the voters.
But 7, I have to say though, 7 and 9 for the person listening to this is going to be like, well, it's okay. It's 9 years. I hate to say I really wonder if the laws are just not stringent enough when it comes to punishing sexual predators, because it's just the most despicable thing that can happen in the world when children are molested. Is it? Are you bound by certain restrictions on how far you can go with a sexual deviant?
Well, sure, absolutely, we are. And again, we've talked about this case 4 or 5 times on your show, Bill. The strength of the prosecution's case in this depends on the children involved and the trauma to them. And I'm not going to keep bringing this case up and putting this out there. These kids live in our community. It's not fair to them. It's disgusting. I'm not going to do it.
Got it.
If I can move on here on the list, I'll try to put 2 of these into one. Mr. Daley claims that there are hundreds of inmates in jail over 6 months before their cases are before they get a plea deal. And he also says inmates are transported to court 6, 8, and 10 times in some cases before they get a plea deal. Can you respond to that?
Yeah, and what's he think? I'm the only person that controls it? Listen, every one of those people in jail has a lawyer, and there's a judge involved. I don't control the entire system here. And his question is, people stay in jail for over 6 months before their plea deal. Maybe they're in jail because they haven't accepted a plea deal yet. Their attorneys haven't talked to them. They're considering other options. There's a lot of things that go into this. And it's ironic because one of the cases that I argued at the Court of Appeals, which is New York State's highest court, was Mr. Daley's use of a pretrial adjournment in a case that he came on your show and talked about. It took 11 months for him to present it to the grand jury. So this exists in our entire system. It's not. This isn't something new in Herkimer County or just in Herkimer County.
Another question here. He says, if you are plea bargaining virtually every case in Herkimer County, forgive me, I'm just reading the question, why are we spending $1.7 million a year to house inmates outside of Herkimer County?
Because we don't have a jail. We need a jail that can house our own inmates. I mean, it's as simple as that. Come on, he's trying to pin me now with the cost of the jail and the fact that we're not building a jail. I'm the district attorney. I'm not the legislature. They decide whether or not they build a jail, and there's a cost associated with housing inmates.
So I got to tell you, here's what we're going to do, and so I feel like there's no chance that you're going to agree to a debate.
I don't think there's a chance he's going to stick to the truth.
Okay. So what we're going to do is try to take the questions that Mr. Daley has put out and then put the answers together. I know there's a day or 2 days in between. And I have to say, you called 2 days ago, I believe, and said that you were ready to go. We just couldn't fit you in.
Yes,
so
that's correct.
I want to make that clear. But what I'm going to try to do is to take the questions from Mr. Daley and the answers, and it'll be the best case scenario for a debate that anybody's going to get.
Come on.
But I think it's important for people to be able to hear the question and to hear the DA's answer to those specific questions. I mean,
but the questions, Bill, are misleading in and of themselves. I mean, that's
addressing and correcting, though.
But you're addressing that. I mean, you're calling him nuts. You're saying he's crazy.
I didn't say he's crazy. You did.
Okay. All right. So what I'm saying is you're saying at the very least he's not credible and he's making up the truth.
That's correct.
Okay. So you're addressing the fact that his questions are in your leading and untrue. To place those back to back, I think would be beneficial for the voter. And who knows? It might be far more beneficial for you than it is for Mr. Daley.
I think it will because it's the truth, obviously.
All right. Anything else?
I just what is it? Again, there's been a lot said here. What not only today but throughout the course of this campaign? What is it you want the voters in Herkimer County to know?
Well, I don't think that it's gone unnoticed on the voters in Herkimer County or on any of you guys. I've never once referred to the facts of any one of his case because I do that out of deference to the victims of those cases. I conduct myself and my office with a certain level of professionalism that I'm not willing to compromise. And I haven't done it during this campaign, and I'm not going to let him compromise not only the integrity of my office or of me, but of the position of a district attorney. I'm not going to let him do it. So I'm not going to get into the mud with him. That's where he needs me to go. He's so desperate in this, and that's not what a district attorney does.
All right, DA Jeff Carpenter, Herkimer County, we appreciate your time once again. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.